Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, many of you are aware that Jesse Jackson passed, I think last Sunday. He passed away. And, it's been in the news all week long. I've been looking at some of the footage from his children. Haven't seen his wife, though, but his children have been out there, doing speeches and stuff. And one of the things they were attempting to do was have Jesse Jackson lie in state in the rotunda on Capitol Hill, and Mike Johnson refused. Now, I've been looking at some of the comments, and, MAGA is running around saying, well, he's not a politician. You don't have to be a politician to lie in state. Coretta Scott King was not a politician, but she lied in state. Um, Reverend Billy Graham, he was another one. He was not a politician, but he did lie in state. So there have historically been people that lied in state, even though they were not politicians. And, he did play a big part in civil rights, during the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. And people know him from his organization, Rainbow Push. And, Jesse Jackson has done quite a few things. We know African American came from him, but he did other things. Jesse Jackson also went around the world getting US citizens or military personnel that would be locked up in other countries. Okay. And he was able to do this when the US government couldn't even get those people back home. Jesse Jackson would board a plane and bring all kinds of people back home. And this US government couldn't do it. That's why he would step in. So, I agree with everything he did? Hell no. He had a child with another woman on his wife. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So there are many things I did not agree with, but he still did some good works. He still did. So, do I think it's wrong? I think because he was a prominent figure, he should have been able to lie in state. That's my opinion. But I'm not surprised that someone from Trump administration turned it down. I mean, look at the kind of climate Donald Trump came into office with. DEI and harping on that and trying to get rid of our history. But he couldn't fully pull it off, y'all. All the stuff that he wanted removed about slavery from the Smithsonian, he got blocked from doing that. So he was not able to do that to the Black Smithsonian. And besides, that's not the job of the president. But, they're on this thing about erasing our history and removing any trace of our history out in public. But it's all going to be in vain, Donald Trump. You can remove all the physical items you want. You're not going to make us forget our history. That's what you're not going to do. So, look, y'all, thank you for bringing up Steel Wings, Charlie Kirk. They wouldn't even fly the flags at half mast for Jesse Jackson, y'all, but they did it for Charlie Kirk in Washington, D.C. And Jesse Jackson, as far as activism, did a hell of a lot more than Charlie Kirk did. Okay, he did. It is what it is. Jesse Jackson's legacy can go all the way back in the 60s when he was marching with Dr. Martin Luther King. All right. Charlie Kirk, because his life was cut short, he didn't have that kind of legacy, y'all. But in Washington, D.C., They immediately flew the flags at half mast. And you saw how the Republicans and Donald Trump were all jumping on TV talking about Charlie Kirk. And they made an attempt to ignore the kind of things he would say and claim it was a political killing. And it wasn't. That was no, his mouth caught up to him. That's what happened. And I think what made them even more butt sore was the fact that it was somebody that looked just like Charlie Kirk that took him out. I think they were outdone by that. But at the end of the day, Donald Trump, it doesn't matter what you stop from happening, what you eliminate, what you remove from a history museum or from historical sites around the country. It's all in vain. It really is. So I'm going to let you listen to a few video clippings. And the first clip you're going to see talking is Jesse Jackson Jr. All right. Hold on. Let me share my screen so we can get started. Okay. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
Circumstances have risen to the occasion of sharing with everyone exactly who our Father is. Over the next week, week and a half or so, you will learn a lot more about the intimate nature and relationship that we all have with one of the most extraordinary human beings who's ever lived. With that said, I think the task of the business of going forward is in small measure going to fall largely on Yusef and in small measure on me. Dad believed that funerals were not for the dearly departed. He believed funerals were for the living. He believed that they were great gathering meetings. And no two life or lives in human history will have the same number of people attending their funerals, or the same people will be at their funerals, because your friends ain't my friends ain't your friends. We don't know the same people. You don't know the same people that I know. Do not bring your politics out of respect to Reverend Jesse Jackson and the life that he lived to these homegoing services. Come respectful and come to say thank you. But these homegoing services are welcome to all, Democrat, Republican, liberal, and conservative, right wing, left wing, because his life is broad enough to cover the full spectrum of what it means to be an American. We only ask people to come and be respectful in the context of the extraordinary life that he lived. Dad would have wanted us to have a great meeting to discuss our differences, to find ways of moving forward and moving together. And if his life becomes a turning point in our national political discourse, amen. Amen. And so Dad's homegoing services, which are difficult for all of us to accept, are just that: a national and international gathering and meeting of people, and people, most importantly, from our community, who uplifted him and put him on a perch that allowed him to share a vision with the world and to share a vision with all people. And so the business, again, funerals are not for those of you who have an opinion. The people who are coming to pay their respects to Jesse Jackson ain't coming to your funeral. They're coming to his funeral because of the life that he lived and because of the phone calls that he made and because of the lives that he changed and because of the people that he touched. And so when people say, I'm coming to speak or to be present and to pay my final respects to Jesse Jackson, we ask all to respect that because that was the life that is Jesse Jackson.
Speaker Johnson, you lazy lima bean, why is it even an issue if Reverend Jesse Jackson lies at the Capitol? You haven't put nothing on the line your whole life. You playing a game right now. And personally, I think you're a Russian operative because you don't look like us. You don't look like Louisiana people. From Clay to the rest of them, they all got a certain stench about them. I know they from Louisiana. You? What is it that's so serious and detrimental that you think that Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, doesn't belong buried at the Capitol? Are you a Confederate, should I say? Is that the real reason? You're a Confederate? Be careful. Be careful with what you do to people, even in their death. Be careful. You may not be a man of honor. Don't disturb those who have been, because all you've ever thought about is yourself, even with your own party. Leave Jesse to rest in honor. I'm going to make sure he gets there. Have a good one.
Where are we in the nation where we cannot hang a plaque to honor the police officers for January 6th, the Capitol police officers, right? Like Speaker Johnson rejects the plaque to honor the officers that saved their lives on that day, that was protecting.
Some of us find ourselves now having struggled so long to get some clothes, we got them now. Struggled so long to go to a great school, we can go now. And go to the University of Southern California and have access to the most intricate information any university has to offer in the world. And we sit there in a classroom with new books and learned teachers and nothing to hold us back. No cotton to pick, no the back of the cure. Just sit there with nothing to do but learn, and we just freeze. Well, somebody, my mind is a pearl. I can learn anything.
Hey folks, Dr. Levitt here. Are you serious? Is America serious? That Charlie Kirk would get not just a holiday in various states, but flags flown at half-mast nationally in the various states, and Jesse Jackson, nothing? No flag at the White House is flown half-mast for Jesse Jackson, the same Jesse Jackson that was an aide to Dr. King, the same Jesse Jackson that was at the tip of the spear in the civil rights movement, the same Jesse Jackson that was a part of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and a leader in it that brought about the 1964 and 65 Civil Rights Acts, the same Jesse Jackson involved with the 1968 Voting Rights Act, the same Jesse Jackson that freed American hostages from 4 countries, including American servicemen, the same Jesse Jackson that helped bring about the minority business enterprise system responsible for making thousands of Black millionaires, the same Jesse Jackson that built the multiracial coalition in the Democratic Party that has served that party well and allowed for Barack Obama to have the gravitas to be president of the country. The same Jesse Jackson that brought tens of millions of minority voters into the American political system. The same Jesse Jackson that ran for president twice in 1984 and 1988. I could go on with the same Jesse Jackson, but their records in terms of patriotism and contribution don't even compare. The same Jesse Jackson that grew up in South Carolina in Jim Crow segregation and still fought for the human rights and civil rights of Americans that we all benefit from today. That Jesse Jackson, a member of Omega Psi Phi, that's the Jesse Jackson that doesn't deserve a flag flown at half-mast. Maybe Omega Psi Phi needs to have more engagement with the White House to advocate for the issues that are pertinent to the people in this country. Stay tuned for more.
Y'all come on in here, because I need y'all to get this around that a Jesse Jackson, or Reverend Jesse Jackson, that is, family, or whoever's going to be running the estate while they're making arrangements for the funeral, and as Jesse get ready to board the ship of Zion and go into the great beyond. But I believe that there is such a good conversation that can happen around this, which is about space and ownership. And to give a little bit more of context, for those who don't know, Republican Mike Johnson denied the family from being able to have Reverend Jesse Jackson be honored at the U.S. Capitol, which historically has always been a place to honor presidents and certain officials. Once this denial happens, there's no need for people to be getting angry or upset. But what really happens here, or this affords us the opportunity to now talk about, okay, well, where else could we honor our Black officials? And also, is this space truly reflective of the life that they lived and what they fought for? And I know some will argue, well, John Lewis was honored there, so how can you say that? Well, that was one anecdotal experience. And with John Lewis, we'll have to start to peel back the layers and understand his story as well, but how he had to overcome so much adversity just to be able to receive a bit of respect amongst his peers there on Capitol Hill. I say it's important, or the opportunity now comes, because we can think about, okay, how can we honor our Black fallen heroes in a space that truly reflect who they are? And when I think of those spaces, somewhere like the African American Museum in DC would be the perfect place to honor him for being in a central location around Black excellence and also around Black achievement. Now, I know some people will come at me and be like, well, there can be a conversation around, was Reverend Jesse Jackson actually on the battlefield fighting for injustices and equality? And to give context around that, of course, we know that when Jesse Jackson was in the camp running with Martin Luther King, there became conversations around who was his friends and who was his foes. And there's been documented articles that came out in the FBI files that supposedly Reverend Jesse Jackson was one of those individuals that was an agent of chaos in being able to tell locations of where exactly Martin Luther King was. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day if we want to go into that. However, I want us to just stay on the point of how can we start to honor our Black fallen heroes in spaces that truly reflect the life that they live. Start with the African American Museum in DC, y'all. Bye.
Taking a moment, working on some last minute term stuff before the new term starts on Monday. I mean, I think people that think like me probably have already thought about this, but I know that there's a lot of y'all that haven't thought about this. I am totally not surprised that Reverend Jesse Jackson was not given the honor of lying in state in our nation's capital. Regardless of what you thought of the man, there is no reason why that man should not be lying in state. He is one of the OGs of civil rights. the image that I will probably forever have ingrained of him in my head is the night that Barack Obama was elected to be the president of the United States of America, and to see that man crying because, if you don't know, Jesse Jackson also ran for president. And I do think, had someone like him been elected at that time, this country would be in a totally different position. Um, because I think, had we crossed the bridge of either like a woman president or a minority president in some shape, way, or fashion before 2008, there could have been a lot of repair done to heal the soul of America. I believe in the promise of America. So when people talk about like making America great, like, the MAGAs talk about making America great, it's never been great for everybody. It's never been great for everybody, but I do believe in the promise of America. A lot of the propaganda that they feed you in school, like the Constitution and military propaganda and things like that, that stuff. It's more than a hat rack. More than a hat rack. Once you start like deconstructing, you see things for what they are. But yeah, I'm totally not surprised. Yeah.
The Reverend Jesse Jackson's family requested that his body lay in honor at the Capitol Rotunda, and Mike Johnson denied it. And I'm seeing comments all over media posts that are like, well, he wasn't a political figure. Why should he be allowed? Da, da, da. Neither was Billy Graham. Neither was Billy Graham, and he was allowed to lie in honor in the Capitol Rotunda in 2018. And guess who was president then?
I'm going to be honest enough to tell you that I'm worried about America. Yeah. I'm worried about our nation because
All right. So, y'all, no, I'm not surprised. You got to look at it this way. I think if he was like, they're right. They did let Billy Graham lie in state. And Donald Trump was the president back then. He was the president. So now here we are, y'all. But Jesse Jackson, I'm sure there are many locations that would host his funeral. And I know the family more than likely already got a place in mind. And we shall see. I'm sure. I have a feeling it might be televised because of the person that he was. It may end up getting televised. But my condolences to the Jackson family, and they'll get through this. Is it, it's very difficult. I was reading him and his wife Jackie were married for 64 years. That's a long time. And you can go back during the civil rights movement and you see the two of them together even back then. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. I have the Bible study coming up at 1:45. So some of you I will see then. The rest of you that I won't see, have a wonderful afternoon. Shalom, family.